Hello, everyone. This is Aaron Gudikunst from Elevate here for this week's Monday Morning Mentor. So, like I talked about in the teaser last week, for the next few weeks, we're going to be going over the new theme of SEO or search engine optimization. And I know over the years, there's been a lot of information that's gone out about engine optimization, what makes for good SEO, what makes for bad SEO, things of that nature. And so what we're going to be going over for you guys is kind of taking all of those best practices and consolidating them into really nice, easy, bite-sized, manageable practices that you can implement on your own without having to go out and hire an SEO guru. Something that you can just do very easily that will just help you get onto the front page of Google without really having to pay for it. Because unfortunately, the front page of Google has largely become a pay-to-play space, and we want to be able to get you there without having to do that. So, you know, SEO, search engine optimization. Why is it important? Why is it that being found online is so essential nowadays for most almost every market? And the simple fact is that is because everybody is going there to look for real estate, especially after this last year when real estate wasn't really able to be searched for that much in person. A lot of it has just been, almost completely migrated to just the online space. In fact, about 93% of buyers are looking for a home, who are looking for a home are using online searches for listings and information about their home buying journey. And so the big question is, what does it take to be seen on the first page of Google? And what can you do to get there? And so that's what we're going to be going over with you guys over the next few weeks. But with this video, what I'd like to do is start with just a little experiment. So first, I want you to go onto Google. You can do it right now if you want to, and while I'm talking, or if you want to maybe do it after this video, feel free. And just search for real estate agent near me on Google and just see what pops up. So one of the first things you'll probably notice is that at the very top, there are probably some paid advertisements. You can see there's like a little sponsor tag under each one of them. Then there's usually like what's called like the local 3-pack, which kind of has 3 Google business profiles. And then underneath that, you're going to have basically all of like the national players. So like your Zillows, your realtors, your Redfins, et cetera. How many of them are actual local, outside of that 3-pack? How many of those are the actual like locals? Are you even on that front page? If you are, kudos, that's awesome. But there's a pretty high likelihood that you may not be. So are you featured in the 3-pack? Are you even in the first page? If your answer is no, or that you don't know, then these videos are going to be just what you need, right? Um, and again, it's important to be there because everyone who's looking for a home is going to the internet to do this now. Like I said before, 93% of home buyers are using websites for an information source about their home search, whether that is to find out information about how to go about doing it, or looking for actual listings, or just perusing the professionals in their area who would be most likely to be able to assist them. 91% of people are reading online reviews about agents. About 44% of home buyers are just starting their search by looking online. They're not even talking to an agent first. They're just going online and looking for houses. And then 84% trust their online searches basically about as much as they trust their own friends' recommendations. So those online searches and those online reviews. So online reviews, and we're going to touch on those later on in other videos, but those are going to be very powerful and play a very critical role in your SEO. SEO is not like it used to be 10 years ago. Right now, the way it stands now, national companies like the ones I mentioned before, they own about 80% of the front page because they have the name power that they've built up their SEO, or they're putting a little bit of cash into it so that they can be on that front page. They have entire departments that are dedicated to making sure that they are on that front page. Your local real estate office is not going to be able to necessarily compete that using that same strategy or using that same type of budget. Um, so outside of the local three pack, you're now fighting for about 2 to 3 available spots on Google's front page. So let that sink in. Think about how many different real estate offices or other professional real estate agents are in your area. For the front page of Google, you're competing with everyone on who you're thinking of right now for those 2 or 3 spots. So why is this important? Like why is it again? Um, what type of competition are you going up against? So um, if you're looking at Google, so if you have maybe Google pulled up on another tab and you've done that real estate agents in, and then your city name or your town name, um, you are going to run into a lot of those national companies, like I said, and not necessarily local agents. Um, there are many agent websites that could potentially be on the front page of Google, but when you're looking at that initial search page, you always have like those 3 ads that are just like right there at the top. It'll say ad and then whatever's website, um, and then underneath that you usually have like a map from that Google puts in there that will give you like some locations of different agents in the area. And then underneath that is, like I mentioned before, the local 3 pack. The local 3 pack are Google business profiles, and Google business profiles are just free to build. They're almost kind of like a mixture of like Yelp and LinkedIn. If you were to kind of like combine them together and put them on Google, and that's one of the things that Google uses for like reviews and things like that, so that you can kind of like build up their reputation there. Um, but one of the things that you know that's going to be important going into this is that we're setting the right expectations about, first off, what you're dealing with, kind of dealing with some myths and misconceptions, and then making sure that we're setting you on the right path. And so these expectations and kind of dealing with these myths are going to be kind of what we're talking about today. um, a lot of folks, whenever you are putting together these different maybe like you're putting together a new website, or maybe you've had a website for a while and you want to try something new. Maybe you want to go a different direction with your domain. Maybe you have a domain but you don't own it. It's actually owned by your broker, by the company you work for. um, One of the things that is kind of, it's not counterintuitive once you think about it, but it's one of those things that we're not used to necessarily in our society, is that a new domain does not equal better. So in a lot of things, newer usually equals better. Like especially with technology. With technology, newer almost always equals better. That's not the case here with domains. If you have a website that is like 10 years old, it's going to have way more SEO potential power behind it than you just creating a brand spanking new domain. Um, an older domain like 10 years plus, that has content on them, are valued way, way more by search engine algorithms. If you have had your website and domain for a while, you're going to be starting off in better shape. That's just being honest. If you're starting off, brand new with a, brand new fresh domain, you're going to be kind of at not a disadvantage, but it's going to take you a little bit to catch up. Um, you know, if you are a newer agent and you're watching this, don't despair. You have plenty of opportunity to catch up. But what I would recommend, or what I would warn against for anybody who has been in this game for a while, who already has maybe older websites, um, you know, basically, if you've decided that, I don't want this old domain anymore, I'm going to create a new domain, and I'm going to I'm going to create a new website. I'm going to point my old domain at the new domain, because I'm still using my old domain. Unfortunately, putting your website on a new domain just killed all the stuff that you did with this old domain. And so like your URL, like the www dot, even if it's the same old one, if it's pointing at a brand new website, um, unfortunately, it kind of undid all that work that you were building up towards. One of the other myths, one of the other misconceptions is that, contrary to what I've talked about with other mediums like blogging and social media, not all content is king. Um, Blogging content is kind of like the great equalizer when it comes to your when it comes to your SEO. Um, but it needs to meet several requirements to be effective in increasing your SEO. And those are things we've talked about in months past. We've talked about things like blogging for blogging as part of your marketing strategy. Blogging should first off be tactical. It doesn't always need to be real estate content, and not always for that particular reader. It needs to be hyper local. It can be down to the neighborhood. It can be down to the individual listing, like that local. You need to be posting about 2 or 3 times a week, at least 300 words. It should include links that open new tabs. It doesn't always have to be real estate related. We've been through over a lot of this stuff before. If you want to go back and watch some of those older ones, I'll include a link to the YouTube channel right down here where you can go and check out some of those videos where we talk about blogs. And then I'll also include a link right here where you can go and check out the actual guide that we built around blogging. So, anyways, all I have to say, um, the other thing that you've probably heard a lot with SEO are keywords. But one of the things that again we've talked about before, not all keywords are real, or not all keywords that you're using need to be real estate, especially when you're talking about stuff with blogs that blogs aren't necessarily directly real estate related, and you don't want all your keywords to be 100% the same 100% of the time. Otherwise, it's just gonna kind of like lose its potency, right? Um, the Google business reviews. Those are going to be, those are going to be your friend. We're going to go into those a bit more. If a search engine has a review feature, you need to be using it. If you want to appear in that 3-pack, the featured businesses on Google's front page, you need to be using Google Business reviews and or Google Business and getting those 5-star reviews. And I'll be covering those in another video. So those are kind of like the expectations that we want to be setting, kind of like going into this next wave of topics, or this next wave of talking about SEO and why it's important for you. So just again to kind of recap, some of the things that you need to be looking out for is that you're going to be competing against national companies, not necessarily against local agents. There's only a few spots that you're going to be fighting for, and by the end of all of this, hopefully you will have fought your way up to the top. Remembering that new doesn't always equal better when it comes to all of this, especially in SEO. And then not all content is king. There are strategies that are in place that you need to be aware of whenever you're putting content together, so that that content is going to attract the search engine algorithms and help move your way up into those into those front page spots. So I know this is a lot that I've kind of covered right now. We'll be covering more over the next couple of weeks. Things that are more specific strategies that you can implement, more specific things that you can do. We're not just going to just throw a whole bunch of ideas at you that are things that you have to things you have to pay for. We want you to be able to take the actionable steps that you can just do right away. That you're not having to wait for budget, or you're not having to save up money for it, or you're not having to allocate money from other areas. Just things that you can do that aren't going to cost you anything else out of pocket, but are effective strategies, that are proven strategies that will get you from wherever you're at on those other pages back up to the front page on Google. So anyways, I look forward to having those conversations with you in the future. And until then, hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.